that wasn't closed properly. Instead of being loose papers, it's all connected together. Oh, this just sort of fell out. That's paper. It's a whole collection of paper. Do you like that one? Yeah. Yeah, that one? Hold it up. We have our paper pad, or our paper collection. Dun, dun, dun. So what did he pick out for me? So this bag that he pulled out is bag from Ultinu. So we have lots of papers. This is from their Our Family line. And I think there's like 3 of every pattern paper. And then we have some embellishments. So we have lots of butterflies, and there's some acetate and some die cuts in here. There's no lettering, so we'll definitely have to take a stash dive to get some lettering. So what I thought I might do is I pulled out one of my lovely, fabulous hot press watercolor sheets, and I thought I'd do a little bit of watercoloring. So Missy Whitten does these pages where she tears the paper and she does like a strips, and then she puts her photos, and then she has mixed media down at the bottom. Well, what I'm thinking is that I'm going to kind of do the same thing, but put my own spin on it, because I just think that page design is really cool, and it's one that I have been like wanting to try for a long time, and so this is kind of like the perfect opportunity to try to do something like that. It's just interesting page design. It's not something that you see every day. So I got some hot press watercolor paper. I'm going to do some watercoloring. I think I'm going to watercolor with my Distress Oxides today. And then I have these 2 photos, and they are from March. They're going to need trimmed up and stuff, but I took a walk with my pup, and I thought I'd do something with these 2 photos. And then this is my house, and we have a flowering pear tree in front of our house, and it was all in bloom. Fitz says good morning. He was sleeping behind me, and I started talking, and then of course he decided he needed to alert me to the fact that everyone in my house was waking up soon. Okay, so these are my 2 photos, and I'm going to work with the watercolors and the torn strips of paper, and then maybe do something down here with a title. So that's kind of my plan. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to pull some papers out that are nice and springy, and we'll do some of the butterflies and some of the die cuts on the page. And yep, that's my plan. Okay, get creating. Let's see where we go. So as I started working with these colors and the papers and the layout, I started to think about some of the concepts that I had learned in a class taught by Ultinu. It's a class called In the Mood for Color, and I thought that I could use some of the things I learned in that class about color theory and about how colors make you feel to kind of go ahead and create my layout using some of those ideas that were taught in the class. So I still am going to keep to that original design idea, but I'm going to add, I used some of the things I learned in that class to pick my papers and things like that. So I am going to use these 4 shades of purple. So we have Seedless Preserves, Dusty Concord, Shaded Lilac, and I think the last one is Milled Lavender. And I am going to go ahead and get a lovely watercolor kind of bottom going on here. So I'm mixing all these colors. I used a ton of water on my page. I'm letting the watercolors, or in this case the Distress Oxides, kind of just run and do their thing. And I'm going to go ahead and add each of these colors. So I started kind of thinking that I would add them as like strips of color, each individual, but in the end I just kind of went for it. I started mixing them all up and adding more water to the paper and kind of just getting myself a pool of watercolor that I could kind of move around and throughout the page. And so now I'm just moving that watercolor all around the page. I'm going to let it drip off the edge a little bit. And I'm just going to keep adding a color and the ink to my paper until I'm happy with how the colors all blend together and what I have. So I really want there to be a good amount of color. I want it to be pretty saturated, and so I'm just going to keep adding, and then you can see here moving the paper around, letting the water kind of run all over it. This is one of the wonderful parts of having some hot press watercolor paper, is that you can do this with it. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up a little bit, and then I'm going to hit this page with my heat tool because I like the way it is. I like where all the water, I like the watercolor effects that I have going on, and I don't want these paints to move anymore, right? So I want them to stay just the way they are. So I'm going to go ahead and hit all of this with my heat tool to get it good and dry. And it did warp a tiny bit, so I stuck it under some heavy books while I went through the rest of my layout. So I went through the papers and I chose papers that were soft and had a pastel feel for them. Again, using some of the things that I learned in that class at Altenew, in the Altenew Academy. And so I chose these kind of nice soft pastel shades to give a very soft, soothing, calm kind of a feel to my layout. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to tear the paper. I tear it, and then if I think it needs more white or if I think it needs to be torn the other way, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to tear 2 strips of each of these patterns. And once I have these kind of layered the way I'd like them, and I like where I'm going with this, I'm going to go ahead and use my tape runner and tape them together so that they're one big piece, right? So that I can move them around as one element onto my page. And you can see here how soft these colors look and how it gives that nice calming feel. This page has a really calming feel to it, which was what I wanted. So if you've never taken any of the Altenew classes, they're super fun. So this class, like I said, was all about color theory and kind of choosing your colors to match the mood and creating a mood on a card by choosing the right colors, the colors to represent the mood you want. And so this layout uses the concepts from that, but instead of a card, we're going to do a scrapbook layout. And I love to do that. I love to take classes that are primarily for card makers, but change them up and use them on scrapbook layouts because I feel like the concepts and the ideas behind any kind of paper crafting can be adapted to whatever kind of paper craft you do, right? So if you are a card maker, this class can teach you about color theories for cards that you might want to send, and you might want to express a certain emotion with the colors you choose. If you are a scrapbooker, you might want to take these same theories and concepts and use them to create scrapbook pages that give you that same kind of mood or feeling when you look at them. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to trim my photos down. I decide that instead of matting them with a color, I'm just going to trim them down so they have a nice white border, and that will work out really, really well. It'll give some definition, but it also won't make my layout too busy. So now I have my 2 photos here, and I'm going to go ahead and add a doily underneath, again for that nice, soft, calm kind of look that I am going for this page. And you can see a lot of the watercolor is covered, but you still see it. It's quite nice. So I'm going to get this my pattern strips on the photo where I want it, and I'm going to go ahead and attach it down and then trim it up. And I'm also going to adhere down my photos just like this with the doily. So the next thing I really want to do is I want to be able to add my title. So again, thinking about the mood that I'm going for with this layout, I'm going to bring that mood into my title. I'm going to use the title Keep Calm and Walk the Dog. These photos were taken we're still in quarantine and under a stay-at-home order, but this was earlier in the month when we were in a stay-at-home order, and I just I needed to walk. I needed to get out. This was the first nice warm day, and it was so calming to be outside in the sunshine and to see spring starting to come up. And so I thought that the title would work right into the mood that I wanted to create. And this means that I can kind of not have to journal a lot. I don't have to journal at all. I just have to add a date, because you can see you can tell by the date, what was going on in the world. We're not likely to forget that. And I also have an entire traveler's notebook that I'm putting together that has much more journaling. But I wanted to make sure that I have a couple pages in my scrapbook album, so it's not like this big gap if you have my family album and you're kind of events and things, and you get to the end of the mid to end of March, and then there's this huge gap. So I just have a couple layouts I'm going to do. If you watched my video on yesterday on Sunday, then you know that I'm also going to be doing a ton of wedding layouts as well. So these are some puffy stickers from Pinkfish Studio, and I adore them. And I'm just going to go ahead and clean this up, and I'm going to add my date stamp, and then we'll get to some of the embellishment. So I used one of the die cuts from the collection to pull in that idea of sweetness or calmness, and I'm going to use these large butterflies. So I'm using the more pastel shades, these light lavender colored ones and these pink ones. I'm going to create a little bit of a diagonal design that's going to go from the top left to the bottom right, pull in those soft colors. Now the stickers do have this kind of pop of orange on the butterfly wings, and I'm going to address that color and make sure that it occurs other places, not just on the butterflies, by adding some clusters of sequins. And so that's what we're going to do. I'm going to pull in my Sierra Nevada sequins from Spiegel Mom Scraps. This is a sequin collection that I designed. It's still available in the Spiegel Mom Scraps shop if you haven't gotten it yet. You can see here these butterflies make a really nice flowing statement piece. So we don't need a lot of embellishment because we have these large butterflies and we have all that pattern. So now I'm just pulling out the Sierra Nevada sequin mix, and it has all those beautiful colors, the oranges that are in the butterflies, but then it also has the purples and the iridescence, more of those lighter, airier colors to kind of keep with our mood for this particular layout. So what I'm going to do is I end up adding quite a few sequins. I just create little clusters in different areas of my layout, and keeping to that diagonal design so that you can follow the line of the sequins, and it'll lead you down through the butterflies and down through the photos and then down through the title. And then here is our completed layout. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you're looking for some fun classes to take while you are stuck at home, if you're a scrapbooker or card maker, it doesn't matter. There are so many lovely classes. This class was called In the Mood for Color, and like I said, it had a lot of really good information about color theory in it if you are interested in that. All right, you guys all have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I'll see you all again tomorrow. Bye.